Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Waterbury, and today I'm going to be talking about the Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream speech. Imagine that you're standing in Washington, D.C. in front of the Lincoln Memorial with around 200,000 people in front of you. You're delivering a speech about freedom, equality, and justice during one of the most divided times in American history. That is exactly what Martin Luther King Jr. did back in 1963, and this speech still matters heavily today because it helped shape the civil rights movement, and it still influences how leaders talk about justice and equality today. Martin Luther King Jr. was a big leader in the civil rights movement, and according to the National Archives, he delivered a speech on the March on Washington, which is one of the biggest events in American history. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech is also really powerful because of its historical context, the persuasive strategy he used in it, and its lasting influence on civil rights in modern society today. The first thing we should do is we should try to understand this speech, and we need to look at the context on how he delivered it. Martin Luther King Jr. was a strong leader who believed in nonviolent protests. He believed that was the best way to achieve racial equality in the country. He worked closely with many organizations such as the Southern Christian Leadership, and he inspired a huge amount of people all across the country. And the audience at the March on Washington in 1963 included over 200,000 people, which some were civil rights supporters, activists, and others were the members of the media, which these people strongly believed in equality and justice, and a lot of them were emotionally invested in ending segregation and discrimination. And at that time, racism and segregation were still really common in America, and the government was not doing much about it, and they hadn't passed a lot of laws yet for it. So the purpose of King's speech was to call that out and try to push the government to make new laws and just to try to get rid of all that. And the audience shared those strong beliefs with him and values centered around justice, which made them connect even more to his message. And now that we're starting to understand the context, we can look at how Martin Luther King made his speech so powerful. One of the most important strategies he used when he was speaking was repetition. He kept repeating the same phrases, such as, like, I have a dream, multiple times, to emphasize his vision and make the message super memorable to the people. That repetition created this rhythm that just made the speech more emotional and impactful. He also used emotional appeal, especially when he was talking about children and future generations, which helped the audience try to connect on a deeper level. And in addition, Martin Luther King Jr., he used vivid imagery and metaphors to help people like have a clear picture of like the future of equality. And at one point, he said, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out its true meaning out of its creed, which that line clearly shows the vision that Martin Luther King Jr. had of a more equal America. And he also used many biblical and historical references, which helped build the credibility of it and connect with his audience's shared beliefs and values. Because of these strategies, his speech wasn't only powerful in 1963, but it still has a big impact today on modern stuff. And at the time of the speech, it helped increase support for the civil rights movement, and it contributed to the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It brought national attention to the civil rights issue, and it helped push the country to really change and just push the change. And today his speech is still widely quoted in schools, in politics, and in social movements as a symbol of equality and justice, and inspired many modern movements, and it continues to represent peaceful protests today. Personally, this speech to me just shows how powerful words can be, and it proves that very strong communication can inspire change and just influence an entire nation. In conclusion, this Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream speech remains one of the most important speeches in American history. And today I talked about its historical context, the strategies he used in it, and its lasting impact. And his speech is just very powerful because of all of its historical context, his strategies that he used, and just the lasting influence on civil rights and modern society. And the speech still reminds us today that real change is always possible when people speak with courage and purpose. And even today, his dream continues to challenge every generation to move closer to equality and justice. Thank you.